go live button. I believe we should be transmitting right now. Okay, right on. Thanks everybody for tuning in. My name is Buddy, and you are watching a new episode of What It Took. What's going on today? We are super lucky, and we've got a local band called Dross in the house today. Do y'all want to introduce yourselves real quick? Maybe Joan, guitars first?
Hello, everyone. My name's Duncan. I play guitar in Dross.
Cool. Bass?
Jonah. I play the bass in Dross.
And Sammy.
Hello, my name is Sammy, and I play the drums for the best band in Sacramento, totally.
Awesome.
And that's Dross.
Yeah, real quick, let's get it out of the way. Do y'all have a way for people to find your music online, or how do folks find y'all or hear you?
Yeah, on Instagram. Here I am forgetting my own handle. Really, it's only Instagram that we have. It's Dross Band, all one word, DROSSBAND on Instagram. That's all.
All right, an IG page, cool. What? Real quick, is there a reason why just Instagram? I'm curious.
Well, because we haven't recorded, other than one thing, we haven't recorded any music yet, so we're not on any audio platforms, and we just haven't done stuff. We've been pretty reserved with our work so far.
Gotcha. When did y'all start playing music together? I'm curious.
All right, so back in freshman year, I met Duncan. Oh, this is gonna get a little complicated, real quick. But I'll just say I met Duncan in zero period PE, and we actually got along pretty well fast. And I think about maybe 1 or 2 weeks later, I realized that he played the guitar, and he realized that I played the drums, and he had other band members that also play the guitar and bass, and they're just like, hey, you know what? Let's just screw around for a bit. And so I just kept going to their house, and we just mess around, and then that eventually turned into us, becoming a group, which was Dross.
Yeah, so it was me, Sammy, and I. Before I had been friends with Sammy, I had two other friends named Diego and Andy. Andy, who played bass, and Diego also played guitar. And when me and Sammy started getting closer together in school in freshman year, they also did. And then the four of us ended up starting playing together. We realized not only did we all play instruments, but we could actually do something with that. We played maybe a year with them.
Yeah.
About a year with them. We learned mostly cover stuff, a lot of Tool. We can go into influences and things like that later. But as you can notice, Diego and Andy aren't here right now. We have another wonderful bassist named Jonah now. They both decided to leave maybe like midsummer this year.
It was midsummer.
Yeah,
September, August.
Yeah, and we had Jonah join, and he's the new bassist. So yeah, that's where we are now.
Nice. Where did they move away, or what happened with that?
No, they just kind of had their taste in music shifted a little bit, and I think that generally they were more, performative than creative. And me and Sammy wanted to focus more on writing than we had been at the time. So it kind of ended up just being me and Sammy trying to write things and not having that desire be reciprocated, and it just didn't necessarily. I mean, I'm still very good friends. We're all still good friends with them now, but it just wasn't a good band unit. So they both decided to leave at about the same time, and now we're able to do a lot more with them, and I think that they're probably a lot happier not having to deal with being in a band that they don't really work with.
Who's even happy right now, dude?
Yeah.
During this time.
Hard to tell. So as a three-piece, how long have y'all been, I'm guessing you've just been writing, right? Can't play live right now, so how long has that sort of been happening?
Well, since I joined, we completed, 2 half songs and then one whole one.
Yeah, we've completed 2 songs. We should say that. Okay. We've recorded one of them, and then we have a good, anywhere between 2 and 6, just 1 to 3, 4 minute, song snippets, right? And then a billion ideas. But really the only, 2 really complete things we've had have been 2 songs, so.
Cool, yeah, that's awesome. What's the writing process like for you guys?
All right, so the writing process, let's just go back. So back then, we still, performed, covers and stuff like that. But we would have some, original ideas for original riffs, original guitar, drum, bass riffs, and all that. But the writing, the writing music there was a lot more complicated and hard to keep than what we have now. But because back then we would have to record ourselves using an iPhone or certain camera and store that riff and then just memorize it and
like
practice it.
Writing down weird notes on pieces of paper and losing them, and then losing track of all the video clips. We were trying to be like, oh, but we're supposed to play this many times and things like that. And it's terribly inefficient.
Yeah, terribly inefficient. And so kind of right after, coincidentally, right after Andy and Diego left, Duncan and I found this program or this music notation software called MuseScore, and that has really exponentially
kind of made us.
Yeah, kind of made us right now because it's what easily stored our written music and stuff like that. So write our tab or write our drum tab.
Awesome, super cool. Yeah, it's you don't meet a lot of bands that can read music and write music in that sort of way. So yeah, that's kind of neat. Did you all teach yourself how to read music, or how did that happen?
Speaking for myself, I don't know. I can only read tab. I can't read musical notation. But I, through MuseScore and using it a lot, I have a pretty solid understanding of rhythmic notation. But we've never really had too much of a need for me to like go into some in-depth classical musical notation type of training. For me, at least.
Yeah, for me, I'm still kind of learning how to. What I'm actually pretty good at is reading rhythm notation on certain percussion parts, like a snare drum or a bass drum and stuff like that. But what's really kind of difficult for me is still having to sight read actual drum set tab where it's all clumped together and stuff like that, and you got to look at all these different rhythms and figure out where they are and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's not easy.
It's not.
No. Do you practice? Do you try to practice that a lot?
Yeah, I try to practice on it. I try to look up basic, drum set tab, drum set, notation, and see if I can figure it out on my lap or something.
Yeah, super cool. All right, maybe we can real quick I want to dive into some specific what it took questions. So maybe each band member can sort of answer what it took for you to get where you are now with your instrument, right? So if you play it, how hard was it to learn your instrument? How often do you practice? How did you actually get into the instrument to start with? Yeah.
Yeah, well, Jonah's probably the most interesting case of that. So
yeah,
I am.
You are, considering you've been playing for a fraction of the time that we have.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll go first then. I don't know. Maybe 2 years ago, previously I'd been playing piano, but the band that I was in at the time needed a guitarist, actually a bassist, and I just picked it up one day. My dad's old bass that had been in the storage for years, and just started making notes until it sounded decent. And then ever since then, I've been doing the same thing. I had zero clue, any music theory at all, no tempo. I just did it all by ear. And I got a little bit better than where I was 2 years ago, 2-ish years ago. I don't know what else to add.
Awesome. So you just kind of picked it up. You started teaching yourself. How often would you play? And how often do you play nowadays to kind of grow or to,
Well, I very quickly fell in love with the instrument, and I started playing it more every day, most of the day. It probably annoyed my family. It's very irritating. It's still, I try to play, 3 hours a day. Well, recently, definitely not as much, but yeah.
Cool. Do you think you'd be where you're at with the bass now if you practiced 1 hour a week?
Nowhere close, no. And I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am right now if I hadn't joined Dross. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating how being in a band can really help you develop skills
Right.
dramatically and exponentially, I think. Yeah, so yeah, kudos to Dross.
Mm-hmm. So for me, what made me fall in love with drums is a lot of like, I went through like a pretty good heavy metal phase in middle school. Like Slipknot, like a couple Gojira songs. Oh man, there's some other Avenged Sevenfold, stuff like that.
Cool.
And I was interested in, I really liked the sound of the drums because I thought it was a big part of that like band. It was a huge part of that band, especially for me. And so I just kept asking my mom, "Hey mom, can I get some like drum lessons and stuff like that?" And obviously there were some first declines because I actually I now know why, because I was doing sports at the time, and so I didn't really have time for myself to implement another thing in my routine for me to start playing drums. But then soccer season ended, and I think I asked her one more time in the car, and she was like, "Yeah, sure. We'll get you some drum lessons." And then like at least 2 months later, I had my first drum lesson with my teacher, Alex Jenkins. Hopefully he's seeing this.
Shout out to Alex.
Yeah, shout out to my boy.
Cool. How many times did you have? No, I won't ask that. I was gonna say, how many times did you have to ask your mom for drum lessons?
Probably a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad parents are rad for supporting kids in their musical adventures or their musical interests. So, shout out to your mom too, I guess.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, for me, not too many people in my to go back to the beginning of my life, not too many people in my family, in my immediate family, like really actively play instruments, but virtually everyone is very into music as a listener. And especially on my mom's side, my dad is kind of into like a lot of 80s music, but my mom is really into a lot of the 70s stuff, like all the classic bands that every rock musician ever will tell you. Primarily Led Zeppelin, though, like a little more than average. And I just had always really been into that, and I'd always gone through other musical phases throughout elementary school and middle school. But then I think in 7th grade or so, I just one day decided I really wanted to just play guitar because it looked cool, and I wanted to play music, and I had been getting more into music with guitar in it at that time. And my grandma had, and still has, and I still play it, just some really weird old steel string acoustic. Feels horrible to play, doesn't sound that great. It's like 50 years old, but it worked, and I just played it, right? And for a little while, I think maybe a week or two, I took lessons. I don't remember the name of the place. I'm sure you would. It's I think it's called Sacramento something Academy. It's in an old school building, in an old brick school building. And I took lessons there for a little while, and it was your standard. Here's a D chord, here's a C chord. This is how you play Yellow Submarine. And I was not very inspired by it. Nothing wrong with the teacher or anything like that, but it made it seem more like a chore than an art form. So then I put down the guitar for longer than I should have, quite a few months. And then I started getting into Tool, actually. And I just decided that I should teach myself the intro riff to a song called Lateralis, just because I thought I could. And I learned that in this whole thing. I was like, I can play stuff that I want to play. I don't have to play things that are in that standard linear progression of learning guitar. I don't have to start at the beginning. I just play what I want to play. Mm-hmm. And it was all over from there. Yeah. And that was maybe late 7th grade, however many years ago that was. I'm a junior now. And I'd been practicing on the acoustic, and then when I graduated middle school, my parents got me a red Epiphone SG that I still use. And I just have been practicing a lot. Well, not a lot, but using it a lot, playing it a lot ever since, and that's led to where I am now.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Tool, so
well, you'll like us then.
yeah. I've heard your band already.
Have you?
Yeah, so I think I feel like I've got some VIP behind the scenes on what y'all sound like.
Oh,
and,
sweet.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, who pirated our song?
I'm not gonna tell you. But yeah, okay. So kind of keeping on this track, I'm curious if there was like one. I feel like I might have sort of gotten an answer from Jonah on this, but was there like one moment or one thing that you experienced that was sort of like the catalyst that got you into playing music? Yeah, like what was that? What was that like one moment, the spark?
I maybe there's a video of Zeppelin playing a song called "Bring It On Home" live in 1970, whatever. And I remember seeing it, and I was very little, and just thinking it was really, really cool for no specific reason. That, and then Kashmir, just hearing that and just being like, hearing all the sounds and just the flow of it, and it sounded super cool to me. I really don't have like an event, an oh my god, I need to play guitar event. It was just kind of the presence of that over a longer period of time that I think pushed me into wanting to play. So.
Crickets on the other two? No one else has a...
I'm trying to think right now.
I don't know, just I guess being introduced to new bands, definitely Tool. If I hadn't listened to Tool, I would not be where I am right now, playing the bass and having it be a passion. Also, Les Claypool for sure.
Yeah.
Primus.
Do you remember the first Tool song you heard and the first Primus song you heard?
Actually, the first Tool song that I learned, I don't know what the first one I heard was, probably Sober. First one I learned on the guitar was also Lateralis. So yeah, it was
awesome. Yeah, such a good melody.
Yeah.
Pretty neat. What about the Primus? What about Primus?
Well, obviously, I was not able to play anything that was capable. I tried, and then I keep going. I still do, but I've been going on and off every year, trying to learn every single Primus bass line and mastering it, and then trying it and failing. But it's getting easier and more fun to learn his technique, his weird flamenco stuff.
Very cool. Yeah, he's awesome. Great. Yeah, super creative.
I'm trying to think. For me, I'm not sure if it was like I can remember one specific moment. I think it was just like just over time, I just kept, falling in love with the drummers of the bands that I mentioned earlier. And it was just like, slow, gradual, progression, and me just getting into, what drumming is all about, or, like the drums itself, like who that's famous plays them, what techniques look cool to like, a casual viewer. And it's like, oh, dude, that dude is super fast. I want to be like that. Oh man, he's doing all these different things with each limb of his body.
That was your Joey Jordison.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Definitely. So yeah, it's just stuff like that just made me fall in love with it. And then, once I got to start playing again, I just fell in love with it even more.
Yeah. I feel that for sure. All right, cool. So now I'm kind of curious, like what it took or what it takes. I want to go back a little bit and dive deeper into like how you all make music, right? Like what does it take to actually make something? Right, so it sounds like you've already done the hard work of building a band, right, which is very challenging for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you do that, then what, right? Like, then what?
Typically, well, again, it's very heavily reliant on music score. Usually, an idea previously before Jonah, it was always my idea. Now it's mine or Jonah's idea. We'll either record it on whatever phone camera we have on us, right? Record a draft version. For me, that's what Jonah does, because I have seen and been shown many a Jonah riff YouTube clip.
So is it kind of like you're all in a room and you're just kind of jamming and someone shares a riff, or how does it work?
It's usually individual. It's usually him or I will come up with something on our own, and I'll usually document it in MuseScore, actually put it down, tab it out, and then we will bring that to whenever we next see each other, whenever next rehearse, be like, hey, I came up with this thing. Does this spark any ideas in either of your minds about what kind of section this could turn into, or about what you do with this or whatever? And then either by developing off of one idea and then running with that and developing that, or taking multiple ideas and piecing them together. That's when you can kind of get longer sections or then songs. For us, that's kind of how it goes.
Is it harder to write a new part, or is it harder to put parts together?
Put together for me,
definitely.
for
So
sure.
I think it's putting together
Yeah.
too.
I can come up with a ton of different things and they could be completely unrelated, but then as soon as you try and stick two together, there's not just the transition between the two. You have to like actually legitimately make them work together, otherwise it's all harsh and weird and bad. Yeah, it's a lot
Dumb
harder.
and dumb.
Yeah.
So how do you do it?
Depends on the section. Time, effort. We're having kind of one of those moments now with another song we're working on, and I still don't know what we're gonna do with it. It's just kind of, in the past, it's been these kind of moments where I'm just noodling or whatever, or just thinking about the song or thinking about music, and I just have an idea of how this could work, and then I put it down, in my case in MuseScore, and just test it out, because there's live playback in MuseScore. There's synthesizers that emulate each instrument, so it sounds like a weird guitar and a weird drum set or whatever, right? It's not, doesn't sound real, but I can play it back in real time, which is really, really nice. And then it's just a lot of trial and error and random sparks of inspiration kind of coming together a lot of the time.
Does anyone else have any thoughts on this, on transition stuff?
One thing about our transitions a lot is that instead of keeping the tempo the same, we have a lot of tempo changes.
Oh god.
And it kind of does, because what we do again, that we come up with like certain different different riffs that that we come up at completely different times, and sometimes when we put them together they'll work, but the only problem is they're not in the same tempo. So we just go with it anyway. Either we'll have like a pretty good pause to kind of like reset, and then one of us just starts coming in, setting the tempo back, which will be different than the previous section, and then we just kind of go from there.
Awesome.
And it does work, and
as long as you don't overdo it.
Yeah, as long as you don't overdo it, and it does work with our 2 songs and our third song that we're currently working on. Yes.
How long are your current songs?
Okay, so we have 2 songs, King and Yellow, and that is almost 9 minutes long.
It's about 9 on the dot, like 9 or 8:50 something.
Yeah, 8:50 something. And the other one, which is Myriad, that's I think exactly 14 minutes.
It's again like
14:02,
something like that.
Yeah,
like really close to 14 even.
So it's kind of why we have only 2 songs right now and working on the third one, because the other ones are super freaking long.
Yeah.
Which I'm a big fan of. I don't like 3-minute songs.
Yeah, you like to give more ideas that way.
Yeah.
14 minutes of just slap at a bass. Can we expect that maybe?
You do come up with the weirdest percussive stuff where you're just
hell yeah.
Yeah.
He just turns the bass into a drum at this point.
Basically.
Neat.
Hey, we'll see.
Yes, we will see. Awesome. Let's dive into band section real fast. Time is flying, going by a lot faster than I had thought.
That's how I feel about when I look back when I was 10.
Stop.
Why, Sammy?
When I get emotional.
So if you're not familiar with this channel and the What It Took series, we often will allow space for the band to ask each other questions, where the band becomes the interviewer and the interviewee at the same time. I think let's dive into that and see what happens.
Yeah, all right. So I think this question could apply to both of you fairly well.
Okay.
So how do you think your actual style of playing your instrument, not like your ability to play it, the style of how you play it, has developed with your time in the band?
Jonah, you can go first.
Okay. Well, you guys definitely gave me a better understanding of what takes skill and what sounds good. Obviously, also listening to Tool.
Hey, Jonah, can we get the mic a little closer?
Is it
Yeah,
better?
perfect. Yeah, thank you.
I don't know how to respond to this.
We got the tough questions here on What
Damn,
It Took.
homie, you hit him with the
Right out the gate.
with the right hook to the face.
So how does how did my style change? I mean, I guess it just had to change to fit to you guys. Before this, what was I playing? I don't even remember. I guess Slipknot type stuff ish.
Kind of new metal-y type stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Minus the 8-string Meshuggah stuff.
Interesting.
And yeah, Slayer. I went from like Slayer influence to now Meshuggah, Tool, Primus.
I'm going to modify my question.
Okay.
When I say style, I mean style of writing, style of original
see.
stuff, how you
Okay.
create things,
Oh,
be
well,
it
that's-
things
Alright.
based off of what me or Sammy writes, or things that are entirely original. That's kind of more what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I basically just record everything that I do, or I try to remember it. If it's good or not, every time I sit down to play the bass, I try to write something. But yeah, then it gets changed with you guys. But yeah, just basically trying to fit with what you guys wrote, and yeah.
All right, so for me, the style. Oh, whoops. The style, has changed actually quite a lot. Over the past 6 years, or almost past 6 years that I've been playing the drums. First, obviously the bands, the super really fast drums. That's kind of like what I wanted to do. Then when I met Dross, like I guess Dross 1.0 or something like that.
The beta version.
The
Dross with one S.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I met them, I got a whole new style of drumming and creating original things, which was odd time signatures, because we're kind of inspired by heavily inspired by Tool and what they do. And
At some point, we're gonna have to list the other bands, so it doesn't just sound like
Yeah.
we're just a Tool rip-off band the whole
Yeah.
time.
Gojira.
We're-
Yeah.
don't worry,
Gojira.
we're not.
Anyways,
Guys, we're
continue.
not. Don't worry. Yeah, but anyway, and then creating stuff, I kind of took that idea too to like kind of experiment with what I'm writing with, because I kind of also wanted to keep the kind of maybe fast pace that I originally liked into a mix of all time signatures and stuff like that. And then over over another 2 years, I've been getting into more like rudimentary stylistic parts of drumming, which is like certain paradiddles and stuff like that. Was my favorite. But yeah, I've been trying to keep track of my progression with not only just it's not all about being fast and stuff like that. It's also having a groove and having certain knowledge of what makes an actual drummer a great drummer.
Awesome. All right. Do we have any other band interviews, band questions?
All right, I'm gonna ask Duncan. I wrote on my way here. I wrote the questions down. So
Sweet.
my mom just texted me, "Be appropriate," but what she doesn't know. All right. So for Duncan, all right, this is gonna be a hit. This is gonna be a hard one.
Ooh,
Or
I'm
one that
ready.
hits. All right. What was the exact moment or situation that you knew that eventually Andy or Diego would eventually leave the band?
Damn. Damn, bro. It was more like the I don't want to just rip into this. I will just generally mainly like Diego and not really Andy as much. Andy actually worked with us a lot more than Diego did. But it was the instances in which he was pushing for us to cover things that I can probably safely assume you didn't want to play either.
Yeah.
A lot of more contemporary, like Foo Fighters and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I actually like Red Hot Chili Peppers, but
That one song.
that one song, right?
I forgot
And it was just instances of them wanting to play things that like I just really didn't want to spend recreational time learning, right? Like
Yeah.
it felt like a chore to learn those things. And then it was just generally, I think that they have a different style of communicating than we do. Me and Sammy are
True.
pretty confrontational, and we talk about things as they pertain to the band. because I think that that's how you avoid issues. And lo and behold, issues came when there was a lack of communication. So yeah, there was no one, oh my God, he needs to leave the band moment. It was just kind of a general case of the personalities not really working
Yeah,
in the
that's
long term.
it's like my last relationship.
Stop. You can't. All right.
Oh yeah, for Jonah now. Oh, whoops! I gotta go back to the notes by Apple. I don't know why I said that. Okay, so Jonah, what were your first impressions of joining? Dross. Like, what do you think? Like, we were like, or something like that. Any pros or any cons on your thoughts of joining this band?
Oh man. Well,
So personal, man.
jeez. Well, I hated both of you. Watching that showcase,
That's fair.
Stinkfist cover. Oh man, I was like, that's what I want to play like. And someone was telling me, in a year or two, you might be playing like them, and little did he know.
That's our first fanboy.
Yeah. What was the question exactly? I forget.
Yeah, like any. What were your first thoughts
Yeah.
of joining Dross?
Well, yeah, the first practice, I was like, whoosh, over my head. I was like, these guys are musicians. Much
My
different.
ego.
Yeah.
Insert exploding brain,
Yeah.
exploding head sound.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I had never played with anyone that thought of music in the same way as I did or you guys did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I thought you guys were crazy cool.
Any more personal questions, Sammy?
Pretty rad, dude. I don't know. I guess for Duncan, you probably answered this many times, but like, actually, well, I guess the answer is Tool. But let's just go to like, okay. Well, let's kind of change it up a bit. Okay, so for Duncan, like, which guitarist to you was like the by far the most inspirational, or not by far, maybe just like the most inspirational?
Adam Jones.
Well, first, like I explained before there was anyone, there was Jimmy Page, because he was the one who I had seen first. But Adam Jones Tool was probably the first one where I was like, I want to be that guy, right? And then
Chewbacca.
a lot of my style is very it developed off of him because I think the beauty of a lot of that music is that it's weird but not indigestible. So like I could realistically approach it, albeit I couldn't just like learn Tool songs right like that. Like it took time, but it was achievable, right? So and because of that was most of what I learned in the earlier days of me playing, and because of that was that ended up being the foundation of how my entire style really has developed as I've kind of gotten into other players over time.
Nice.
That is it.
That's it for the Sammy
Cool.
questions.
All right, I got maybe one more, and then we got to wrap up.
All right.
So, what is next for the band? And do you have any shout outs?
Well, right now we've just finished recording our shorter song "King in Yellow" on our own, which was quite an experience. We will be finalizing a video for that next few weeks, months, and then also hopefully next few weeks, months, we will be recording the other song "Myriad," possibly here, hopefully here, and I can speak for myself in saying that I have every intention to try and put together a full record, if not maybe more material,
Yeah,
at
that'd
least
be
by
sick.
the end of high school.
100%.
That's such a good goal.
Yeah, I mean, I might even be able to massage it into being a senior project, which would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do that at that
Yeah.
point.
And
Now
there's
you're talking my language.
yeah, see.
Yeah.
I might do the same.
Yeah, so that's short, it's not incredibly long, but that's kind of the goal right now. Is we're just going to keep working on original stuff in the way that we have. We've kind of come off of a big spike in workload with recording that song on our own, which we didn't really know we were doing for. But yeah, we're just going to keep going as we have been, and see if we can get a record done within the next couple of years.
For me, yeah, it's kind of the same thing as what Duncan said. But hopefully, what I kind of want to see in the future for Dross would be, like us still, being together even, during and after college, which would be really cool.
Yeah.
If we get like some sort of deal like that, which would be, I mean, the chances are low kind of now, but it's not, that's not any reason to, not to not,
Try.
Yeah,
My
and
bad,
all
to
of
not
us,
try.
this is very like I certainly think we'd all end up going crazy if there was no creative outlet like this. Like
Yeah.
it's not just we want to do a record not for it to sell well, but because we all have such a huge need to put stuff out and do things,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That like it's just a nice cohesive way to put a lot of creative ideas together. And so even if we took a hiatus for college or whatever, right? I don't know what I'm going to be doing in 3 years of my life.
Same, dude. I
But
still
we
don't know.
still need that that way to get out that energy and create stuff. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and a music also, like some sort of music video that we've been talking about,
Mhm.
what it
Yeah,
would look like from Myriad,
Mm-hmm.
that which is pretty cool. No spoilers though.
All right,
I'll
we'll
shut
just have to keep our peepers peeled, and
Yup.
our ears open for what's next for this rad band, Dross. All right, any shout outs or anything you want to share with anyone who might be listening to your music community? Yeah, any kind of last thoughts or ideas or shout outs?
Well, there's the obligatory parents for putting up with the noise and the gear
Oh yeah.
and the gear
definitely.
transit. And we have one of such parents sitting in the other room with Trona. She's
The
dubbed herself the momager of the band.
That's what she's calling herself.
Yep.
Great name.
Think of her as Kim Jong Un, but like from music.
Yeah. But yeah, just the people that you would hear most bands thank. I think we have a pretty fortunate space to be able to do what we do. I think, especially during
Yeah.
these current circumstances of the
Agreed.
world.
All right.
For me, I would like to, shout out my the drum teacher that I started out with, again, Alex Jenkins, for introducing me to the whole fantasy world of percussion and drumming, and shout out to my other percussion teacher right now from McClatchy, Ryan Lee. He's also been helping me a lot. He's very patient, with me and all the percussionists too, which is good, and really chill dude, and you want to take lessons from him.
For me, I'd like to shout out George Duke-Majan. He is a family friend that I've known since basically my whole life. And he's always been a person that I'm able to talk music to and share my ideas with verbally, both visual and music art. Yeah, and thanks for believing in me.
I'm gonna add one. There's a local band called Roman Pilot, and there's a guitarist in that band called Eric Tia or Tilla. I don't know how to say your name. I apologize on the off chance you'd ever see this. He played at Chalk It Up, an art festival here, and it was really, really cool to see someone making music that I really deeply enjoyed on a local level.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever worked here at this studio or heard of them, but they're a really, really great band.
What are they called again?
Roman Pilot. They play kind of more math rocky, like trippy, weird stuff. Generally in the same vein as us, but not. They don't really have the metal element, but their music is really, really cool, and it's been really motivating to see that kind of work being done locally, rather than always being this unattainable thing that all these big bands are doing. So yeah.
They even implemented Y equals MX plus
Yeah,
B in their
yeah,
songs
math
too.
rock.
Oh, Lord. Awesome.
So yeah.
Very cool. Right on. Yeah, we'll put a link to them in the description. And yeah, I'm super stoked to look them up. And I just want to say thank you so much to all of you in the band for taking time to hang out here at the Library of Music Landria and to kind of just talk about your journey. And yeah, that was really cool. I really appreciate that,
Of
everyone.
course. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on. All right, cool. Well, if you're watching, feel free to go get some popcorn or whatever kind of snack you are most stoked on, we will be back at 5 o'clock with another amazing interview with one more local band. They are called Playground Insults. I wish I had heard about Roman Pilot before today, because I would love to interview them as well, but we'll just have to save that for next time. So yeah, come back 5 o'clock. We'll be doing another interview with another local band. And before I sign off, I want to give a shout out to the Library of Music Landria for providing space for us to do these What It Took interviews. If you haven't heard of Music Landria, go to musiclandria.com. You can borrow instruments for free. You can record. You can use the space to practice. You can use the space to live stream, and a ton of other stuff. They even have a radio station called Sacramento Dirt that focuses 100% on Sacramento area bands. So if you have music that you want to contribute to that station, go to musiclandria.com. If you want to be featured in a future What It Took interview, same thing. Engage, y'all. Let's build the best music community we can together. All right. Peace out. Do y'all want to say bye real quick?
See ya.
Bye.
Follow my Twitch, twitch.tv/.